We've heard a lot about Poland and its beautiful, sometimes untouched landscapes. But we'd never been to this area before. So, in June 2025, we set off in our motorhome to explore northern and northeastern Poland. Today, we're coming from the town of Leba and plan to drive to Kołobrzeg. Shortly before Kołobrzeg, we stop in Koszalin. From our parking lot, the path leads us into the center. Almost next to our parking lot is an older gabled house that houses the municipal and district archives. Just around the corner is the city theater and next to it a small chapel called the Gertrauden Chapel. It was first mentioned at the end of the 15th century. Across the street, the striking building of the local lyceum comes into view. The path continues to the Gothic cathedral, which was first mentioned around 1300. The nave of the three-aisled church is decorated with pointed arches. The former Gothic main altar has been replaced by a new Gothic altar of lesser value. I notice a colorful painting and a vibrant triptych. In front of the church stands a bronze of the late Polish Pope John Paul II. As we continue walking, we notice a cat cafe. Entry and petting of the cats is very welcome. Diagonally opposite are two older buildings connected to a stylistically adapted building. The old fire station, dating from 1928, on a side street is no longer in use. This 16th century Gothic house is apparently supposed to house the registry office. We come across the spacious paved town hall square. The town hall dates from the 1950s. I read somewhere that it is probably the ugliest town hall he has ever seen. However, much of the architecture is reminiscent of the Bauhaus style of the 1920s. We bid farewell to this place with the water fountains popping up in front of the town hall. Today we continue to Kołobrzeg, 35 kilometers away. Our campsite may be surrounded by greenery, but we feel crammed in like we're in the mass accommodations right next door. Kołobrzeg is one of Poland's most famous seaside resorts. Consequently, there are many hotels near the beach. In addition, a kilometer-long, beautifully landscaped beach promenade stretches behind the dunes. Some of the old villas from the early 20th century still stand here. The wind is still strong and fresh, so we don't see too many people on the beach. The 220-meter-long pier is the second longest concrete pier in Poland. There is an admission charge, however. This monument not far from the pier commemorates the symbolic marriage with the sea after the capture of the city on March 18, 1945. The lighthouse was one of the first buildings rebuilt after World War II and is now a city landmark. It stands on the remains of an old fort that defended the harbor. Tourist boats also depart from here. And, of course, the obligatory Ferris wheel next door is a must. The old town was almost completely destroyed in 1945. Only very few buildings survived. During the redevelopment of the city center, a shift in building policy began in 1975. The redevelopment of residential areas across the Parseda River was also a must. An architect designed an overall concept for the old town that was intended to represent a city that had grown over the centuries, with building facades and gables in various styles, instead of larger prefabricated buildings. The few remaining undamaged buildings were incorporated into the urban composition. The Braunschweiger House, named after the distinguished Kołobrzeg council family of Braunschweig, was built in the mid-17th century by the merchant and shipping family Pludman and rebuilt in 1808. Today it houses a museum. The Kołobrzeg Cathedral, dedicated to the Assumption of Mary, is a five-aisled Gothic brick hall church with a striking tower massif, originally composed of two towers. Many of the cathedral's valuable works of art survived the Second World War, walled into church niches or hidden in small country churches in the surrounding area. The seven-branched candelabra from 1327 is significant. The choir stalls, dating from 1340, are worth seeing. A pair of votive images from 1442 depict the motif of the dead, or rather, the Grateful Dead, as is a bronze baptismal font from 1345. The town hall was built around 1830 according to a design by the famous Berlin architect Carl Friedrich Schinkel, incorporating the remains of the Gothic predecessor, which was destroyed in 1807. A row of houses has been built around the town hall, modeled on the old Gothic and Baroque buildings. In the park surrounding the medieval matching tower, works of art in an open-air exhibition recall the former military function of a fortress. We drive to the beach again, where, in the sunshine, a few people venture into the still cool waters of the Baltic Sea. And once again, my path leads me to the sea in the evening, where a few patient people join me in hoping for the perfect sunset over the sea. In summary, Kołobrzeg is a modern seaside resort worth seeing, steeped in history. The almost completely destroyed city was rebuilt almost perfectly after the Second World War. It's worth a visit. Tomorrow, I'll continue on to Świnoujście.